Welcome to episode 224 of the Prosperity Practice, the podcast that has you living your most abundant life. My name is Danielle Amos, and I am your host. Today, I have a very special guest. I am honored to bring on Cynthia Kersey. Cynthia is recognized as one of the world's greatest motivators. She's a sought-after speaker and best-selling author of 2 books, Unstoppable and Unstoppable Women, with a client roster that includes global giants like eBay, Mercedes-Benz, Avon, Johnson & Johnson, as well as thought leaders like Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, Mary Morrissey, Marshy Shimoff, and many more. Cynthia's 25-plus year career is a testament to her ability to empower individuals and leaders to lead with generosity and unlock their full potential and results. So she is the founder and CEO of the Unstoppable Foundation. Her organization has empowered 500,000 plus lives in 23 Kenyan communities through a comprehensive 5-pillar model. I have talked about the Unstoppable Foundation in my community for years. We supported the Unstoppable Foundation nonstop through our donations. And just recently, around COVID time, we moved them. We moved our focus to a more local organization. However, I am very pleased to be interviewing Cynthia, and I won't ruin any surprises. Great things happen in this interview, and you're absolutely going to love it. So dive in and enjoy this conversation between Cynthia and I. Today, I'm super enthusiastic and excited to introduce to you a friend, a mentor, I'm going to call her. And most importantly, someone I met through my mentor, Bob Proctor. Her name's Cynthia Kersey. She's the founder of the Unstoppable Foundation. I just shared with you her bio. She's here with me today to share with you a new experience that she's created. And we actually got connected not so long ago again, after Cynthia. I knew Cynthia from being very involved with Proctor Gallagher Institute and being in Bob Proctor's inner circle. And I have sponsored villages and students through the Unstoppable Foundation in the past. And I personally have been going through some transformational times in my life and changes in my own personal life. And I intuitively had the idea to reach out to Cynthia because I remembered a conversation or a story that Bob shared with a group of us about how Cynthia got through a challenging period in her own life and how she really found magic in helping other people and in the power of giving. And so Cynthia graciously offered to get on a call with me and supported me. And here we are today with this podcast to help you and share a little bit more of the story there and how Cynthia's project, I really think, is going to benefit many of you listening. And there's much more to come. I feel it. There's bubbling up with the way that Cynthia and I will be collaborating in the future. So thank you for being here and blessing our audience with your presence. Appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, Danielle, it's such an honor. It's a privilege. I love connecting with you and talking about something that really has changed my life and thousands of other people. So it's the favorite way of spending my day.
Well, thank you. So how did this experience in generosity and giving, how did it start for you, and why do you think it's been so effective in your life?
Yeah, thank you. Well, it started during what you called a transformational experience. So many years ago, my then teenage son and I were at my parents' house over the Christmas holidays. And it was supposed to be this traditional family gathering. And 2 days before, my husband and I of 20 years separated, and our marriage was ending. And needless to say, I was devastated. And I'm supposed to be in the kitchen, fixing a dinner. And instead, I'm in the bedroom with a box of Kleenex. And I'm staring at the ceiling, and I don't know where this thought came from, but it's like, I don't know what you're going to be doing next Christmas, but you're not going to be in this bedroom feeling sorry for yourself. You're going to do something, anything for somebody else and not focus on your problems. So when I got back home, I called my mentor, one of my mentors, Bob, and Millard Fuller, the founder of Habitat for Humanity, was a mentor of mine. And I called him and I told him what had happened. And he said, Cynthia, when you have a great pain in your life, you need a greater purpose. And Danielle, I thought I was living a purposeful life, right? I had quit my job, cashed in my entire life savings, downsized my life to write my first book, Unstoppable. So, you know, my purpose was to inspire people to live unstoppable lives. But when I thought about it, it wasn't bigger than my pain. And so, true to form of a founder of Habitat for Humanity, he recommended that I build a house for a family in need. And he said, did you know you could build a house in Nepal for only $2,000? And I thought, wow, how many houses would I need to build that is bigger than my purpose? I mean, bigger than my pain. And I thought,
What a great question.
isn't that great? Yeah. And I thought,
Yeah.
I don't know, 5 houses. I've never built any. And it was like, nah, then it was 20. Nope. 50. No. And it wasn't until I came to the number 100 houses that felt bigger. That was a bigger purpose than my pain. So understand, I didn't know how to do this. So I went to our mentor, Bob Proctor.
Yeah.
And remember, I'm a new author living on a $14.95 book. So the royalties for that aren't much. And I didn't know how to fundraise, but I had this purpose that's bigger than my pain. So I called Bob and I said, I need to raise $200,000. And he said, oh, that's easy. You find 10 people to donate $20,000.
In Bob style.
And I'm thinking, well, that doesn't sound easy to me. I don't know one person, who has $20,000. And as I was kind of just listening to what he said, it took probably the most courage I had to muster in my whole life. And I looked at him and I said, would you be the first and to donate for $20,000? And he told me later that pushed him back, right? Because he had never contributed that level before. But he looked at me and he said, yes, Cynthia, I will be the first. And he told me that action for him was the beginning of a deepening of greater generosity. And it really transformed his life. Anyway, so, that year when I'm speaking and I'm talking to colleagues and friends, I told them about this Nepal build. I called it the Unstoppable Nepal build, and invited people to give. And I raised $200,000 and took 18 people to Nepal the following holiday season. And we worked on the first 3 of the 100 homes that were subsequently built. And do you want to know the epiphany that I got from that? Is that when you're doing something great for somebody else, you think, wow, I'm doing something great for somebody else, right? But what I hadn't anticipated was I was doing something really great for me. It gave me a purpose. It brought the light back in my eyes. It made me feel like, when I was going through the divorce and I was very early in my career, it's like, oh, what do I have to live for? You go through these experiences of, but it was like, wow, it helped me realize it just ignited my heart. And what was fascinating about that and unexpected is I made more money that year selling a $15 book than I had at corporate America with a 6-figure income. So that was the beginning of a journey and really an inquiry of how did this happen, right? How did all of these blessings come when I decided to bless somebody else.
That's incredible. I love that your process of getting honest with yourself as well about how many homes it would take in
Mhm.
order to for the purpose to be larger than your pain, because I could see like a lot of people actually stopping, like allowing their paradigm to get the better of them and go and become a little more logical, like, oh yeah, like 10 is probably enough, and I'd be doing something, and I'd like to continue to ask yourself and go, 100's the number.
Yeah.
And then to
Yeah.
like not let that stop you, like $200,000 and to
Right.
Bob come out and say, well, that's easy, and to completely change your perception. So did it take you the entire year to fundraise the money? And
It did.
did that become a big part of your life then? Like it really did become a big piece of your purpose, or
Yeah,
did it
it
mold into
totally did.
unstoppable? Yeah.
100%. So what happened was I got that activated within my life. Like I'd been raised, around giving and, went to a Christian church and, was taught, give and it shall be given. And when the offering plate came around, my mom and dad always tithed, even though my dad, started, he was a factory worker at Procter and Gamble early in his career. My mom was a secretary. They didn't have a lot of money, but
Mhm.
they gave generously because they believed in the mission of the church and they believed that God would my DNA, but hadn't been activated in the certain giving into everything that I did, with my books. And then I would, donate a percentage. I started donating and volunteering my time when I didn't have a lot of money. I looked for what could I give. So I volunteered. I would teach people unstoppable seminars at the women's shelter. I did all sorts of things to be able to contribute. Because, it was interesting because when my book was first coming out, I felt desperate to be able to give. Like I really
Mm.
wanted that so desperately. And it was such a blessing when I was actually able to start doing that. And I mean, it changed my life. It changed, and actually since 2010, I've been talking about the power of giving and generosity. So, and it's interesting, Danielle, because it's more alive in me today than it's in 15 years. And I talk about it all the time, but I'm still a student of it. And I think this is a key. Even if you think you're a giver and you experience yourself as a giver, there is a great opportunity to do this at a deeper level. And I think we're going to talk about that in a minute. And we're not just talking money, right? There's all sorts of ways that you can give that make a difference in somebody else's life and in your life.
I think that's a really important point, that it isn't only money, because I think, a lot of people will go there, assume, oh, they're the best thing I can do is give money, but it's not only true. I find that with some of the other resources we tend to give, it is limited, like our time. We've got a limited amount of time, and it's amazing to donate time. And one of the reasons I'm so passionate about money and abundance and really prosperity in one's life is that we can make such a huge difference by giving money, although it's not the
Sure.
only way, Yeah, that's good. So
No,
let's, yeah,
100%. Yeah. Hmm.
let's talk a little bit what happened after. So reached your goal, 200 homes built. You took a group to Nepal
Yes.
to build
Right.
you have your teenage son. He's watching you become super passionate about this. I'm
That's
sure that
right. That's right.
inspired him.
Yeah. And I just became a student. Like I said, I integrated it into my life. I started to do a lot of research because, we all are familiar, right? It's like generosity is foundational in every religion, spiritual teaching, from Jesus who said, given it shall be given unto you, to the Buddha that said, if you only knew the power of generosity, you would want to share that meal you're having with everyone. It's like we all know it. But now there's all of this research, decades of scientific research that prove that generosity is the most potent force on the planet. So like just take a moment to take that in, right? It's like there's nothing more powerful to boost your physical health, your longevity, your well-being. You know, we talk about things that are going on a lot in the world of the mental well-being is really
Mhm.
compromised. And I'll tell you right now, when you're generous, it changes everything. And I'm going to share a story that really demonstrates that. I may have told you this. Oh, go ahead.
I have a question because I don't know if it's that easy for people to be generous. Like, yes, it's in all these books. Yes, we hear it in our, our parents may have demonstrated it through church and through
Mhm.
at home. But do you notice, because I noticed this, that people have almost like they hold on,
Yeah,
they're like, there's a point, maybe they're generous up until a point, but then they still have this belief like, not sure if there's enough, if I like give
that's
that little
exactly
bit
it.
more.
That's exactly it. People live in a world where there's not enough. And they feel like if I give to you, it means there's less for me. And it's interesting because we are inundated with scarcity. You know, we wake up, we don't have enough time. We've got this big, huge to-do list. We don't get it finished. You know, we're not enough. We're not attractive enough. We're not thin enough. We're not smart enough. It's like this whole misperception and this belief. It's just a belief system. And the thing that shifts that more than anything is generosity. Generosity generates
Mm.
good. It generates growth. It activates receiving. I did, for example, when I did the Nepal trip, right? It activated receiving in my life. Like I felt blessed, I had a purpose again, and I made more money.
Yep.
So I think this is why I invite people into this experience of giving. It was so funny because I was talking to somebody who I love and really respect, and I was talking about this generosity experience, and I was talking about it's a 30-day. He's like, I don't know, 30 days seems like a lot. People aren't going to want to do 30 days. I'm like, are you serious? It would be like, I want to be healthy, but I'm going to only eat something healthy for one day
Yeah.
or maybe two. You know, are you building any momentum with that? No. So I think the key thing is as we go through this, Danielle, is for people to understand how simple it actually is. And so and can I
Yeah.
Cammie's story? And I think she demonstrates that, and then we'll go from there. So great example, Cammie Walker. She just got married. Her business is doing great. She just came back from her honeymoon, and she wakes up and her left arm isn't working. So she goes to the doctor. 2 weeks later, she is diagnosed with this neurological condition called multiple sclerosis. So over the next 2 years, she's in and out of the hospital. She's in pain. She no longer can walk. She's not working anymore. And her hope of a better future is gone. And she calls her friend, who is a neighbor and really a spiritual mentor to her. And she was hoping for a pity party. And she calls, her name's Mabali, and she says, she starts going, and Mabali's like, whoa, stop. She's like, Cammie, you've got to stop thinking about yourself and this disease so much. You're actually making it worse.
Mm.
She said, I want to give you a prescription. I want you to give something away every single day for 29 days. And it doesn't have to be material. It could be a smile. It could be a prayer. It could be a phone call. But the key thing is you do it from a place of gratitude. And Cammie's skeptical, and she's like, seriously? I'm in pain. I can't freaking walk. And you're telling me that smiling at somebody is going to make my life better. And Cammie said, just try it. Mabali had tried it herself. And she said, just try it. And Cammie's thinking, well, it can't make things worse. So, and when these new series of medical treatments weren't working for her, she was desperate. So she said, okay, I'm going to do it. So day one, she calls a friend. Her friend's husband was traveling. Her friend had multiple sclerosis, and she notices that she's feeling better, right? Very quickly, she started shifting. She started feeling better. She started getting more hopeful. And get this, by the end of the 29 days, she's walking again. She's working again. She made new friends. And I think the key thing is that she said it was like a miracle for her, truly a miracle. And she said it changed her life. And one of the other things she said, which I think is very important, is that it helped her capacity to receive
Mm.
and expanded her, because this is the deal. If you want to be a great giver, you need to be a great receiver, because it is the completion of a cycle. And I think there are people who are good at giving, but like, think about it. Oh, giving you a compliment, right? How often do we just push things away? Oh, no, it was nothing. Oh, you mean this whole thing? Whatever, right? And I think by giving, part of what we're talking about is intentionally receiving. And as we do it, it's a perpetual cycle where you give more, you receive more, and your life changes forever, just like Cammie's.
I so agree. I often say to our community to be a good giver. If you're already a good giver, let's look at how you receive. And we play out a role play between like two sisters. I'm going to give my younger sister maybe like a gift of a sweater. It may even be a hand me down. And if my sister receives it in a way as she's like, like, thanks, and kind of pushes it aside, how excited am I to give that sweater? Whereas if my sister is like, oh my goodness, like,
Exactly.
this sweater, like, really, it's for me. And the same thing, my attitude and my energy when I'm giving that. So to look at both ends, like, how are you receiving and how are you giving? Because they are two ends of the same coin.
They really are. And I think another thing, when you asked, why don't we give? One
Mhm.
of the reasons is we live in a world where we believe there's not enough.
Yeah.
The other reason, I think, is people don't really understand the ripple effect that is generated by kindness, by
Mm.
giving. And I want to share a story, one of my favorite stories that I think really demonstrates this. So Hilda was a German woman. She had escaped from Nazi Germany because of the generosity of a stranger that helped pay for her family to leave during the war. And she never forgot that generosity. And she'd always wanted to do something for someone else. And she learned that for a small amount of money every single month, she could sponsor a Kenyan child in school to get a college education. And Chris Maburu was that little boy. So Chris, his family survived on $1 a day, right? So they're in extreme poverty. And his mom always said, you've got to study hard because, if you want a different future than this, education is the way out. But no matter how hard he studied, you know, that wouldn't get him out of the situation. Only money could keep him in school. He was in and out of school, working in the fields when his parents couldn't pay for the school fees. So he was so grateful. He didn't realize, or she didn't realize, actually, Hilda did not realize the power of that monthly small gift that she considered small. It enabled him to go through high school, college. He ended up graduating, getting the resources to go to Harvard Law School. He became a civil rights attorney, being the voice for children that have no voice. And he decided, I've got to find this woman. This woman has changed my life. She's my hero. And he goes to Sweden and he sees this woman, not this rich woman that he'd always imagined, but a very simple woman. She'd been a teacher living in a 1-bedroom apartment. And he said, Hilda, you are my hero. And she's like pushing it away, right? Oh, no, I didn't do anything. He's like, you don't understand. You've changed my life. And I started a scholarship fund to pay it forward for other students. And now there's almost 1,000 students that have been able to get an education because of that fund.
Wow.
So it's like one person, we never know the
Mm.
ripple effect of being generous and how that will impact people. And just like Chris Maburu, right? It changed his life and thousands of other children's lives forever.
Yeah, that ripple effect. And that goes back to the generosity. So it could be money, but it also could be that smile, that way that you
That's right.
tip the server in the restaurant. You know, it's like that. Then what is that ripple effect out there in the world? And huge.
So
Love it.
I want to share an example. I may have you and I talk, but I love it so much. So I'm in, so one way, Bob talks about leaving people with an impression or an experience of increase. So
Mhm.
when I travel, I'm actually an introvert and I don't really like, talking, I like my quiet time. And I'm in the Uber and, I decide I'm going to engage in a conversation with the Uber driver. And I asked him, "How are you? What are you passionate about?" And he said, "Well, I don't really like being an Uber driver that much. I'm a performer. I'm a street performer, and I do impressions, musical impressions." And I said, "Really? Tell me about that." And he said, "Yeah, I sing, Frank Sinatra and all those people, and Johnny Cash was his favorite." And he said, "Do you have a favorite song?" And he gave me a list, and I chose "Ring of Fire." And I said, "Would you mind singing it for me?" And he starts to sing it. And it was like he was getting into the spirit of it. And I was feeling blessed. It was just that whole exchange. And at the end, I'm just applauding him and acknowledging him. And it was like his heart, it just was such an enriching experience that I'm still talking about it. What did that cost me? It cost me nothing. It cost a few minutes of a conversation. And I think this is key, Danielle. It's looking at going through your life. How can I be a blessing? How do I make somebody else's life a blessing because we came together? And you and I know Bob Proctor lived that to his dying day. When they were taking him on a stretcher and bringing him back home, he is looking for how do I bless the EMT drivers and the people that are bringing him home. Like that's who he is
Yeah.
through and through. So when we start looking that way, and I'm not talking about from a place of depletion or feeling obligated. It's out of inspiration. It's finding what's mine to do. Who is here
Mhm.
for me to bless? And
And
when we,
not also, if I can say, not
yeah.
also from a place of trading.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like
Yeah.
just
Right.
really being conscious of you're like doing it so that you get something. It's like
Yeah.
really, I love the word inspired. So when
Yeah.
you're inspired and then it takes something to keep it top of mind as well, which is what I've been doing as I've been working through this experience that you coached me to do just a week ago. And so every opportunity. So talk to me about what's for me to do, because that really
Yeah.
stuck with me when you said that.
Right. Well, we all have callings, right? We all have things that we're inspired by. We all have things that we're touched by. We all have things in the world that we feel are not okay. And so, as a matter of fact, it's very fascinating. So, one of my things to do, obviously, is to ensure children have an education, right? And they happen to be in Kenya, which is where I started. And I could talk about that in a moment. But I was on a show, and this guy's like, "Do you do anything for veterans?" And I'm like, I don't really have any experience around that. It's not that I wouldn't, but I'm not around them. I said, but it sounds like that's yours to do.
Mm,
People constantly project onto other people things they feel inspired by, but they don't want to do. So
mhm.
I think the key thing is being aware. I go way deeper into this in my book because there's something there to it. Like what is a call for you? Again, where are you inspired? But I feel like the generosity experience is getting in harmony with generosity, right? And as we start creating the practice of it and the transformation of it, we can take a deeper look into what is really ours to do. What is ours to say yes to? Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And it reminds me of going back to our purpose as well. So like really understanding what that purpose is. And Bob really trained me to say no to anything that was outside of
Yes.
if it wasn't aligned. It's okay. It's not a problem. It's just like it's not for you to do. It's
Well,
like,
that's it, because you can spend your life. How often do we spend our lives doing things that people tell us are ours to do, or we should do this, or it's not a very inspiring way to live.
mhm.
And for me, I'm telling you, like, even when I decided, I've been wanting to write a book about giving for 15 years. I've started, I've created outlines. It's very different now, but I'm getting up at 4 in the morning. I can't
Mhm.
wait to work on it. Again, it's not a new concept, but this project is new. And I think, what is it that really lights you up? What, puts the light in your eyes, and lean into that, and then see where that takes you.
I love that. And I'm reminded of Napoleon Hill's desire. He says, when the desire is fueled within, you'll be jumping out of bed before your alarm. And that's really what you're experiencing.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's,
So with the generosity
yeah,
experience,
go ahead.
are you able to share with us some, like, how do we do it? What are you
Yeah,
asking
we're
us to
happy to
do
do
in
it.
this experience?
It's very simple. You start your day with gratitude,
Mm.
right? Starting with the gratitude of the great fullness that's already a part of our lives. It's like, I love David, what is his name? The Benedictine monk, David, I can't remember how to say his name. I love him so
Mm.
much. And he talks about the power of generosity. And he has this beautiful, this video, about, like, we have eyes to see, and just how often do we notice the colors?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
yes. I think he's German, right?
It's
And
beautiful.
it's a
I'm not
YouTube video.
sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I
I'll
should know
find
these
it and
things.
put the link.
Find it, please. It's
I'll put the
so
link in
good.
the show notes. Yeah.
And I've got it. I could give it to you later as well. But it's like, start with the great fullness of life. So I'm so happy and grateful. And what I've been doing I've actually shifted my generosity practice. And I'm so happy and grateful for, my husband, let's say, for example. I love, why? He's so loyal and so dedicated. I love his heart, and he tells me every day that he loves me, right? You give the why. And when I go into the why, I feel it. I'm so happy and grateful for my dogs. Why? Well, when they look at me with those big eyes, I just melt. Do you know what I'm saying? Or again, and I've noticed going into the why allows me to feel it, which is exactly what we want to do. So start your day writing down 10 things you're grateful for. And then secondly, you look for, how do I give to myself? So it's like, you put your mask on first. You got to fill your cup up. So it's like, for me, when I did this, and I did this for a year. Cammie did 29 days. I was so inspired by her. I did a year of giving, and it completely changed my life. But I looked at, okay, I'm going to give to my spiritual self. I'm going to read something that's inspiring. I'm going to do my prayer meditation. I give something to my body, which means I'm going to work out. I'm going to eat healthy. And then, and yeah, body, mind, soul, right? And then, so you do that first. Then you're open. You're looking for, who can I bless? God, who can I bless? What's mine to do today? And then, as you're doing your life, whether you're home and you think of calling somebody and just saying, connecting, or you're out. I was at the grocery store the other day. Again, I started talking to him, even though I didn't normally feel like it. I did anyway. And we had just this beautiful conversation. When we go out to dinner, tip the bill. They're like, oh my
I love
goodness,
that.
it feels so great. So
Mhm.
gratitude, give to myself, look for how I can give to somebody else. One thing. It could be letting somebody get in front of you in line, right? It could
Mm.
be buying, a gift for somebody. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be donating to something. Where are you feeling called? And then the
Mhm.
final piece is, you have to be open to receive. So I want you to just, flex those receiving muscles. And I'm glad what you said, Danielle, is very important. We are not trading. And this isn't that. When you give, call it as unto God, unto the universe, it will come back. You don't know, but you're not giving to somebody so they'll give back to you. You're giving out of abundance. And you know that the blessings will come back. There's a difference, right? So you're not attached. So you are receiving the gift. And when people compliment you, when people give you something, when people do something for you, you gratefully receive.
So good. I've really worked for myself on that energy of the giving. If the moment I think it's trading, I stop and realign and go, that's not it. Like you get to just follow that inspiration, like you said. So being mindful of that has really, really, really helped me. And then the receiving, graciously, gratefully receiving. So saying thank you, acknowledging, being grateful, like getting and being enthusiastic about the gift that you're receiving, and like recognizing that you are in that moment receiving goes a long way. I think sometimes like it's like, well, how do I, I can hear people saying, how do I really receive well? Like, what does that actually look like? And to practice it. So
Yeah.
after a year of this challenge, I'd love to hear.
Well, yeah. So I did it in 2010. And
Mhm.
was it 2010? When did I do the challenge? Yeah, I did. Oh, yeah, that's right. I did it in 2010 because I really wanted to start the foundation and I really wanted to teach people about the power of generosity. But the economy was terrible at the time. And I talked myself out of it. I'm thinking, I'm single now. How am I going to support myself? Nobody's going to pay me money to teach them how to be generous, right? So I talked myself out of it, but I did my year of giving. And what happened was, first off, I got the courage to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to leave my successful business, my unstoppable business, coaching, doing all of those things, speaking, and I'm going to do the foundation full time. And I had two key friends that came up to me and said, we want to help you. We're going to pay you money every single month, for a year to get you going till you build this up. I had to receive it. And she's like, Cynthia, aren't you going to ask me for my credit card? When we were talking about it, I'm like, It was hard. You have to be humble. But if I hadn't received the gift, I wouldn't be who I am today. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there the universe was to support me. It kind of reminds me, have you heard the thing where the guy's like on the roof and there's a flood and it's like, God, please save me. And there was a boat that came to save him. And then there was like something else that came to save him and a helicopter was saving him. And he's like, no, God's coming. And he dies. And then, whatever. And then he's like, what happened, God? You didn't save me. He's like, what do you can? I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. You know what I'm saying? So it's
And you
like,
didn't receive it.
and you didn't receive it. You said no.
Yeah.
So when you ask,
Mhm.
anyway, so I had to say yes. And then raising money for the foundation, it's not easy in the beginning, raising money. And I had to say yes. And people came up and said, a sponsor, I was doing this project, give a little, get a lot. And people said, I wanted a sponsor. It just started building momentum.
Mm.
And all of that is I had to receive. And then so that was great. And then I'm living my highest calling. I'm in such gratitude. I'm taken care of for a year. I've got friends that are supporting the foundation. And one of the things is I was single, right? And my heartfelt desire was to get married again to the love of my life. And I'd been single 10 years. And there were lots of times where I felt sad about that, right? I remember my 50th birthday, like I'm getting older and just all nonsense that we tell ourselves.
Mhm.
But I was sad because I was single. And so that year, as I was giving Danielle, it just took the focus off of me. And that year, I met Blaine Bartlett at an event
Mhm.
where I spoke about generosity, and he donated money, and we ended up having lunch together. And that was it. Like in January, we came together, and now we've been married. It'll be our 13th anniversary. And I
Wow.
feel like that was a miracle to me. Now, is everybody's results going to be like mine or Cammie's? No, we're all different.
Mhm.
But this is the deal. When you said it's like, what does it look like to give? What it looks like is being open to receiving. because if your energy is pushing away, you're not even going to get it. Like, so be open, be gracious. If somebody lets you in front of you, say thank you, or in front of them. I mean, it's just noticing what's coming forward because you've got a consciousness now. You're aware of it through this generosity experience. You're intentionally giving, knowing it's going into the universe. You're not attached to how it comes back. You're just grateful to be able to give. And you're noticing what's coming forward and you receive it with at minimum a thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You said what it did for you too is it took the generosity experience taking the attention off yourself. And you said
Yes.
that a couple times in the first experience for you, like taking it off your problem. I think there's great power in that as well. It's just like we're like sending our energy out, and that positive energy of love and the gift of it and gratitude, it goes through us, and our focus is
Definitely.
on that. And so it's huge. Thank you
Well,
for
it does.
sharing.
No,
Mm,
and we're like a magnet. So, one way to look at like, what are you attracting? Just look like what's in your world.
yeah.
Are you around a lot of people that are generous and that want to support? And are you around that a lot? If not, it's just a noticing. And it's like, let's shift that,
Yeah.
and it is simple. And it's cumulative. I just think, I talked to a woman yesterday, and because they talk about when you give, you get the helper's high. Like literally, have you ever felt euphoric when you've given?
Hmm. Hmm.
I know it's the best feeling. And I talked to her, and I was telling her about the generosity effect in my new book, and she got all turned on by it. So this prospect called her and said, "We want you to come in and we want to have a meeting." She set an intention that she was going to go serve, hold nothing back. Like, I'm going to give them everything I have. I'm not holding anything back, no expectation. She went in there for 4 hours, man. She's just under the kimono, right? She's letting them in. And they said, okay, well, and they said, what would it cost to work with you? And she told them, and they're like, well, this or that reason, can't do it right now. She's like, okay, it's fine. I just wanted to give. Then they call her back and said, you know what? We want to work with you. And this is the key. She told me she felt high on that drive home. She was so happy that she could give. People were receiving her wisdom, her ideas. So do you see what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
just such a
Yeah.
great way to build a business and a life.
Yeah. And she knew that she was on purpose and giving in the way that was hers to do.
Exactly.
And it gives so much back. I love that. Well, I've been at events where you give people the opportunity to be generous, and that invitation really lit me up. So
Mm.
I've been at a couple events. One was a Proctor Gallagher consultant training. The other one was, I think it was a paradigm shift. And you had me so inspired that I literally was jumping out of my seat, like, with my, like, I don't know how I'm going to make this happen. And I know that this is my desire to give in this way. And it felt so good
Mhm.
and so thrilling to know that I could do that. So I remember, like, and my palms sweating, saying yes to sponsor the village,
Yeah.
and then the student. And I'd love for people to feel that on the
Yeah.
podcast. So perhaps telling them a little bit more about
Yeah. Thank
Unstoppable
you.
Foundation and what you do, and trust that those that feel into it will give. And we'll put all the links and the details into
Yeah.
the show notes.
Thank you. Um, yeah, so basically, the way, like I said, I really started getting into giving. I included it with every book that I wrote, with every project, for every product. And I'm looking for that next big thing. And my second book, Unstoppable Women, was coming out. And I got an invitation out of the blue to attend a conference in rural Kenya. And the only thing I knew about this conference is that women were coming to share their stories. And I just felt like, I'm sure you felt this before, like when something is yours to do, you feel it. And I said yes, even though it made no sense. I just felt like I needed to go. So I book my flight, I fly over there, and I spend 5 days with these women. hearing stories that like broke my heart. And they weren't sharing it from a place of wanting us to feel sorry for them. They were looking for solutions. So they had children, that got malaria. And for the price of a cup of coffee, they could have been treated, and instead they passed. Or girls are spending their whole day fetching water. They're not in school. I mean, there's so many things they're hoping, they're praying that their kids can get an education. There's not quality education. The kids have to work to help them survive. And, when I was leaving, well, actually, while I was there, there's this voice inside of me that says, Cynthia, you need to do something about that.
Mm.
And there was this immediate, much louder voice that said, who are you?
Yeah.
This problem has been going on a little longer than you've been on the planet. What, you're going to solve it? Kind of like the voice that Cammie had, right? When
Yeah.
Mibali gave her a recommendation. That's what we do. Oh, no, we can't do that. Oh, no, that's not mine to do. That's somebody else's to do. And as I was leaving, we're getting on the bus, and the women were like dancing, and we're hugging, and we're crying. And she said, they all came and they're chanting in another language. And they said, in Swahili, they said, please don't forget us.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, great, again, what can I do? Who am I?
Mm.
But I said I would do something. I came home, and I was with Debbie Ford. I don't know if you ever met Debbie Ford.
I didn't
Anyway,
meet her, and I've been told stories. Yeah.
she is. She was an incredible being. She wrote The Dark Side of Light Chasers, and her work is The Shadow Effect. But I talked to her about it, and we decided, it was Thanksgiving, and Bo had turned his bar mitzvah into a fundraiser to build a school in Uganda. And I got the idea. I literally sat up on the couch, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that for my 50th birthday. I was turning 50. So I had this party. Bob Proctor was Mary Horsey, like all these people came, and we raised $80,000 that night. And again, people, it wasn't like, oh, great party. It was like, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to make a difference. Instead of a gift, I don't want a gift. I wanted them to. Bottom line is, that was one of my, wow, this is mine to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm inspired by this, right? So that year I started to do some research, and I found that, lots of schools are built in developing countries, and in 3 to 5 years, they're empty. They're empty because the root of the problem isn't solved. They don't have access to clean water. Girls are fetching water. Kids get sick. They don't have access to healthy, nutritious food. Kids are sick. They can't be in school. They don't have access to medical care, right? They don't have access to, the parents don't know how to generate an income. So it's this self-perpetuating cycle. So I thought, great, not only do we need to build schools, but we got to do all these other 5 things, right? So I found a partner, and we started in Kenya, and we started implementing a model called Sponsor a Village. And what we do is we go into these huge communities, and we break it down. A village is essentially 70 children and their family. And with 70 children and their family, they get access to all things: education, clean water, nutritious food, access to healthcare, and training for the parents to generate an income so they don't need charity again. So what we do, and this is what you've supported many times, is you can do one child, just like Hilda did, right? It's $31 a month, supports a child to go to school, plus all of the other things, the water, etc., for the entire family for 1 year.
Wow.
And it's $25,000 to do one village, or it's, $31 a month to do one child. It's $62 or $63 a month, I think, to do 2. It's just like whatever inspires you. And the thing I love about doing this, and I so appreciate it, is like, we talk about generosity, and there's so many ways to be generous, but it's like, what is yours to do? We're on this call, and I always give a feel invited, not obligated invitation. So it's not a high pressure. It's just feel invited. If you would love to make an impact like Hilda did in the life of Chris Mabubu, you never know what that student will do as a result of getting an education. So I would invite people to go to unstoppablefoundation.org, and then you hit the donate button, right? It's right there on the site. You can't miss it. And together, as a result of this, we can activate generosity even more powerfully in our lives through this call, through the act of giving. You're like, what can I do? Well, this is the first thing you could do. If you're feeling inspired, I would love for people to do that.
I love it. Thank you. When I heard you speak, I knew that that was a part that I could do. And like I said, I just jumped out, and what I experienced, like it was nothing that I had experienced before. Like it was such a strong invitation, such a strong pull, that I knew that that was my part. And to see others in the community support it as well, there was just such a great high knowing the
Yeah.
difference that we were making as a community and really coming together. So I'd love if for the people listening, if you feel inspired and you have the invitation here to let me know. I'm like, I love to see when people move, and at the same time, what is yours to do? So if you don't feel like this is yours to do, and you have heard Cynthia talk, and maybe there's something like you're leaving someone with an experience of increase, share that with us too, because there's a ripple effect to all of it. And this experience, the generosity experience, the generosity effect that Cynthia is talking about is very real. I've seen it come back in my own life, and I've taken on this experience for myself again. It's like I wouldn't say forgot, but through COVID, things changed.
Yeah.
Like where I shifted my attention. So I'm so grateful for the invitation for myself to lean in and noticing what's happening on the other side. It's just like this beautiful filter, like these glasses that I have that are on with generosity and gratitude that I didn't feel last week. It was like
Yeah.
just last week.
I hear you. You move from a world of not enough to a world of
Mm.
more than enough. That's kind of what we do, right? And it's like you're no longer frustrated by lack, or you're hesitant to help others because they might take advantage of you, or you don't celebrate somebody else's success. Like all of those things are scarcity. And when we truly know that there is more than enough for us, for you, for everyone, we just need to do our part. And the way that we get the enough is through generosity. We generate the good and we generate the blessings by activating it through giving.
I love it. Love it. I'd love to start the momentum on this podcast and contribute to you and the Unstoppable Foundation, and declare it to everyone here to sponsor another village
Oh, that's great.
and
Yay.
start the momentum.
I love it. That's fabulous. I love that. And you know what? I don't know if we want to bring this in because it's maybe clouding it, but we're completing Bob Proctor Legacy Project, and you can be a part of that. You can sponsor a village in his project and get your name on the mural.
Let's do it.
Yay!
Let's do it.
I love it.
So
Thank you.
perhaps those listening, you might, feel that call, and it would be in the Bob Proctor legacy. So let's, if people are feeling this, like just reach out to me, because I'll coordinate it with Cynthia and make sure that it's all together. But let's, I wanted to start the momentum and really encourage people to get inspired and just see what happens. Like use this as the day one of your generosity experience, and pay attention and graciously receive, and go out there and notice what opportunities are given to you to continue to be generous in your life, and recognize what changes. Oh, thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much, Danielle. I'm so excited. And I know, people who lean into this, and it can be simple. It can be simple, right? It's the four things: gratitude, giving to yourself, giving to somebody else, and receiving. So if you make when you make a contribution to unstoppablefoundation.org, all you have to say is who referred you or what inspired you. You could say Danielle, Amos, and we will put it towards your project.
Oh, cool. That's easy.
Yeah, that's
Thank
really
you for
simple.
that.
So we'll be able to track that. Yeah.
Amazing.
Well,
So
yeah, and I want to hear what people's experience is around really this generosity experience. I can promise you, you will move into a different world, into a different perception of, you will be blown away by all of the abundance that's there and waiting for you. It's waiting for you. And the way you get it is by generating, generously giving, inspired giving, right?
yeah, and it happens just like that. Like I got, the message. I'm like, okay, we're doing it. Like, let's do it. And to
Exactly.
not question it though. That's really important because it's your inner being, your intuition. So thank you for bringing this to us. Thank you for the work that you do in the world through your books, through speaking, and of course through the Unstoppable Foundation. And for me personally, thank you for your support for myself as I'm going through this period. That your generosity in just offering to hop on a call was really inspiring to me. So thank you.
Well,
Thank
it
you.
gives me chills. I was so happy to do it. See, that's the thing.
Mhm.
Like, you think it's like, I'm doing something great for you. I was so happy to connect with you. I felt better. It's a privilege to bless another human being. So you bless me by reaching out. And I'm very grateful that you did, Danielle.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing where this all goes.
Me
Any
too.
last words? Any last words for those who are listening?
No, I just like give yourself a chance. If you're
Mm.
discouraged, if you've got all of this evidence on how there's not enough for you, things aren't working out, you're the one that's left behind. Everybody else, Danielle can have a great life, Cynthia can have a life, Cami can have a life, but I can't have a life. And I'm here to say that the good in this universe is for you too. And I invite you to give it a try. Give it a try and
Mm.
see and be prepared. What it says in the scriptures, it says, as you give, see if I will not open up the heavens of the floodgates of heaven and pour upon you such a blessing, you cannot even contain it. So get ready for the blessings.
Perfect. Thank you. And to our listeners, expect an abundance, how we finish the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Please share this podcast if it resonated. And of course, giving us the 5-star review helps. If you got any questions or comments, please reach out to Cynthia and myself directly on social media. Our handles are in the show notes, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Oh my goodness, I'm still buzzing from that conversation. Thank you for being here. And I'd love for you to join our special webinar. Cynthia and I got so inspired by this interview that we've decided to host as part of Momentum May in the Success Club. And we are opening it up to all of you, a webinar on the law of giving and receiving. We want to go deeper into why this is so important, why it works, and why you can increase your prosperity through giving, really understanding giving and receiving. So the link is in your show notes. The date is May 1st. Even if you miss the date, register and you'll get the recording. We'll see you there on May 1st. Thank you and expect abundance.